Okay, so let's start off again here. I have another set of scans here to analyze. This is again here from a previous customer located in North America, and I want to do some scan analysis. Here they sent me 4 scans, and I want to go through these and show exactly how I do the scan analysis. Now, they are primarily interested in finding gold, and they are most curious of if there's gold located on their mining site. With this being said, let us continue on. Okay, I want to continue on. I'm going to start here with this scan here, and I'm going to come down the line looking at all the possible. What are we going to have here? No, I'm going to say no. So I'm looking for a little, like a triangle here, hanging on a down, but in the middle of the down. And the weaker the signals are, the deeper the signals are going to be. This one here could be a close one, but this one here would have to be going down. And then we're going to continue on here. So looking at this first set here, a very interesting one here. I'm curious as what that is. This is really interesting, but not quite. Let me move on here to the next scan. As you see, I've opened up all the scans in advance, so I can go through there a little bit easier. Again, starting off here, this signal here, this is a really interesting signal. I'd like to see this particular here signal. Again, this is on scan 1056. And that I would like to see again, even though it's in the wrong spectrum, it is something that I would be interested in seeing again. We're going to move over here and say nothing, and then I have this directly off of the side. This tells me this is either extremely small, or and I'm going to move this over a little bit because this is actually really quite interesting here. And this is exactly what I'm looking for, coming off of the side. It is in the wrong part of the electromagnetic spectrum, but it could also be the ground type here in the area, which is just filtering it. This is very interesting. I would like to see this one again and further. Very interesting. So let's continue on. I would definitely say this here as a point of interest here, which is I'm coming into here. This is going to be on 1056 here, and I'm looking at 23,13 meters of 30. Okay, is that looking right? Yeah. So that is, this is working here from the opposite direction compared to the rover C4. This is a rover C2, by the way. The equipment is irrelevant regardless if it's a rover C, rover C2, rover C4. There are just some small tweaks here within the programming of it. Okay, the data analysis is the same. So let's continue on here. I'm going to continue moving on this line here. If I see anything here that is quite substantial, this could be a replay that I'd like to see, but right now at this point there's nothing there. I'm going to move on down the line. This is just very interesting soil here. Moving on down the line to say, okay, at 1056, my area of real interest is right here at 23.13 meters, and then over here, okay, which will be almost at the end of the line at 2994 of 3048. Okay, so that would be this. Moving on, let's continue on here. Scan number 333. So I'm going to expand this just a little bit so I can see a little bit more into this one. I'm going to move on down the line. I'm following, and I'm not seeing anything significant here. Moving on down the line, continuing on down the line. I am looking for some of these signals that come right off the side. I do not see anything here in this particular scan. This scan is the 1100. I do not see anything in that. So let's move on to the next scan line here. And as I move on to the scan line, let's start off back here. I'm looking at right here. Could there be something here right at the very beginning here? This could be or at the end here. Could be a possibility. Let's start moving on down the line here, moving the scan. If I see anything, looking at this here, this is a signal here. I'd like to see a repeat at this area over here, because the repeat would be between 15.54 and 16.15 meters. Also very interesting weak lull here, because it's not visible. I would be interested, why is it not visible? Okay, so let's continue on moving down the line. I'm moving down the line. I don't see really anything here. This is not showing me really anything. But going back through here, I think this would be one area I'd like to see more of. Okay. And then, of course, as I said, at the other side of the spectrum. We can also, here in your window view, you can arrange here, windows arrange stack. And at this moment in time, if you had less scans, you could put all of your scans within a single eye view, so that you can see the scans a little bit easier on occasion, depending on how big they are. You can scroll your scans up and down in order to make them fit into their respective categories. Alright, this scan analysis here is being finished. I do have one more from this customer. I will bring it up here right behind us in another scan here. I will actually continue on. This is the number 2 area. I will bring this up into the number 3 area. So I'll be right back with you. Alrighty then, let's continue on here. I have, through the magic of video editing, for you this had only taken a couple of seconds. For me, I had to click and push and shove and open, close, and click and push and shove and open, close, and then I decided to figure out how all of this works. No, not really. The couple of minutes I took only was a couple seconds for you. Enough of my very dry humor. I must have got it from the desert somewhere. I wonder. All right. Now, let us continue on. And I am in the second phase here of this scan, and I'm going to come over here. We're going to start over here. Technically, since it's a rover C2, the beginning is here, but I'm going to start on this side because from left to right is what I am most accustomed to. Moving along the line, I do not see anything here initially. What I can do is use my mouse wheel, and I can scroll in to make that signal just a wee bit larger. And I'm going to drag, because if I'm on here, I can drag. If I'm up here, then it's going to rotate, and it's going to rotate it all over the place. And depending on how I want to see it, it depends where it is, because I'd have to push it back over, and then I can rotate it or see all the different possible variants. I don't want to do that. I'm just going to select here and have my two-dimensional view, and I'm going to come over here, start again. And let's move on. I am not seeing anything that is striking my immediate interest on this one as of this moment, even though this area right here possibly, and this is on 1110, could be scanned again. And the reason I say scan again is it's much easier to do a new scan than to dig a hole. And doing a new scan will be a half-an-hour endeavor. Digging a new hole will be a 30-hour endeavor. All right. At this moment in time, this could be an interesting to see if it changes, but at this point it is not. Moving right along here, scan 1110 is, for the most part, nothing that I am seeing here that is of significant interest. I'm going to move on to 1115 now. On this Visualizer 3D, I'm going to expand the signal here and move this right along the line as I'm moving here. And the reason is, if you look here, these are all completely connected there. There's no separations. I'm looking here for that, what's going to pop off to the side. This is a little bit too strong of a signal area. This is indicating more here, possibly in the ferromagnetic, in the magnetic side. I'm going to be really careful for this, even though this one here is off to this, coming off to the side. It's not quite exactly what I'm looking for. And then I'm moving over up and down across the line here to say this is a possible, but I'm going to be very, very cautious and say no. Here we have something coming off of the side, but we still have this connection here. I'm going to say no. Moving down the line, I have this here. Still, it is all interconnected. I'm going to say no. But in any case, if ever unsure, please conduct the scan again. Now this scan here is going to be the 1117, and let's open this up a little bit and see what we are looking at coming on down the line. I am really in a nice color range here. Would be very difficult, but I am going to think I'm going to flag this area on 1117 at 20.63 of 30.48 meters. Okay, or impulse number 45 of 66. That would be this entire area moving here from impulse 50 to, let's say, impulse 40. So between impulse 40 and 50, this one here, I will ask for a redo, control scan this area. Even though the initial signal for gold is not here, I'm going to request that it be scanned again. This is close, but perhaps through an additional set of control scans we can see if indeed is something available. Now here I have a string. I have a string here, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. Even though I'm in the wrong color phase, this is a string, meaning this one here will most likely be deeper. I am doing a repetition here. I do have a couple of repetitions. This is deeper, and I do have what I'm looking for here. So moving on, or moving up the line here on 1117, I would be most interested to see between 32 and 35 536. So we're looking at from 14 to 16 and a half, 17 meters. That is an area I am going to call and say, please redo this particular line. It is 1117. I want to see the control scans. The control scans are going to be 2 scans starting at point A going to point B. You are trying to replicate these control scans to make them so that they are as close as possible to identical. Scan number 3 is going to be exactly the opposite from point B to point A. Very important. Let's continue on down this line here on 1117, and I am not seeing anything else significant on 1117. Now we have 1119. 1119, and I'm looking at right here. What am I looking at right here? 1119. This is not, from the distance it looked like something different, but that would be something which would be a very first flag for me. Is still possible a flag for me, and this might be something at position here 9.25 of 2286 or pulse 35 of 85 right here coming off of this. So 3 pulses further here, 32 of 85, and that would also be something worth of interest. So why don't we say 1117 repeat, and I might just call 1119 repeat. Actually I will, because this entire section here, let's go over to about here. So from 22 to 35, from those impulses, I am going to say it is a very interesting scenario. This is nothing, this is nothing, this is nothing, and going behind here, nothing that I see on the back side. At this moment here, I'm going to turn off 110 and leaves me 117 windows. I'm going to stack the 2 windows up together and mix these. Are these duplicates of one another? I will say right now, this signal right in here on 1117 is very interesting for me, and I'm taking particular interest in this one particular signal. Moving up here on 1119, I don't see anything 1119 that would be overtly interesting, but on 1117, this right here is for me interesting. All right, thank you very much. I am glad that you stuck around for this very short tutorial. I hope that for those who are interested in the analysis for gold bearing ore using the OKM equipment, if you are interested in receiving some more information, just send me a comments button. I am officially, as of now, no longer an actual employee of the OKM company, but I am a freelancer and a freelancer of the OKM company. So in the event that you need help and you want to have my attention much quicker, you may contact OKM directly and just ask to talk to me, Frank, and they can put you in connection with me at any time, or they can actually arrange a training session for you. All right, thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing from you or any comments, and I do read all of my comments. Thank you.